Okay, good morning, everyone. Today's Thursday, December 19th, 2019. The time is 9:08 a.m. We're meeting for our weekly community development meeting, and we do have just a couple of items on the agenda for today. I am calling this meeting to order. Commissioners Duncan and Brooks are attending in person, and by phone joining us is Commissioner Bill Brooks. And
Duncan and Filios.
oh, what did I say?
Duncan and Brooks.
Oh, well, I'm Brooks the second. Never mind. I stand corrected. Commissioner Duncan and Filios are present. Commissioner Brooks is joining us by phone. Sandy, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's what happens when the tongue goes faster than the brain. Okay. I guess I'm supposed to poll for potential conflicts of interest. Any?
None.
None.
Okay. Do we have any changes to the agenda? I don't hear of any. Our first item is a signing. It's case number CUP 19-0006. It's a request by Claudia Jean Davis for a conditional use permit for privately owned recreational facility on a 4.776 acre parcel located in the Ag Suburban Zone. Ben, does anybody wish to comment here? I guess not.
I have anything to add. Order of decision's been prepared in accordance with your findings.
Okay, so motion to execute.
I move that we execute the order of decision in case number CUP 19-0006.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chairman Filios.
Aye, and the motion is carried to execute the order of decision. Thank you. We're still on. Okay, so we are moving to the second item, which is a business item, and it's a community development update. It's a discussion of subsection 8.8.405, discretionary procedures for all public hearings, and it's an information item, no potential action. Director David Callahan, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone. I thought we should discuss what's embedded in the code for time limits and give you a brief history, and so that you can deal with this Condon case where the limits were actually set less at the hearing than is embedded in our current code. But let me back up and give you a little context. I think here, like most every place I know, in my experience, there were no absolute time limits up until 2016. What the code actually said was that the time limits may be set. The hearing body may limit the time that each witness may speak. That's verbatim out of Ordinance 355, which predates our 2016 code. And I will admit, a downside to experience, I over time tend to remember things from 20, 30 years ago where it was always the chair's prerogative. And so recently I haven't stopped to think that in 2016 we set absolute minimums. And what came to my mind about this when Commissioner Duncan mentioned to me that my staff had mentioned to people these limits, and then you chose something, Chair, that was shorter. I could see now why it happened, because
What's it doing?
I don't know what that is.
What's it going at?
So when people ask us, we tell them these are what the limits should be, and then you had set this limit less than that. And so next time I'll speak up in a hearing and say, no, you need to follow these limits. Because as you see on the screen, it's unambiguous that if you limit the time, the following minimum shall apply. So you don't have a choice. You have to start here, in my view. You could do more, can't do less.
Okay.
I can speak to how these came about as well. The 1, 3, and 4 were based on historical practice up until that point. And then public testimony was extended from 3 to 5 minutes, in part based on my recommendation, because I was concerned about whether 3 minutes truly gives people, a meaningful opportunity to be heard. So that was the genesis of those time limits. So they can be, they can be changed.
We'll take a code amendment.
Yes, it would take a code amendment to be changed.
And so for your Condon hearing, my suggestion is you go with these numbers, and then it's chair's prerogative, but my suggestion would be you open it up to those that spoke at the last meeting that didn't get to finish everything they wanted to say, and you give them that opportunity. Because it's the right thing to do, even though it prolongs the meeting.
Yeah, and you can certainly admonish them not to repeat what they said before.
Right.
So how do we identify who didn't get to finish?
No,
I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, that's what
You
I'm saying.
just make it self-actuating, where you say, I will allow speakers that spoke before if you didn't get to finish, but please refine your remarks to the
New.
things that you didn't get in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, if somebody bends that rule, it's, no harm in terms of due process. But, I do think those limitations are appropriate. And then, of course, people who haven't spoken will get their full 5
Full
minutes.
time, right.
And I will comment that often, if commissioners have questions for a speaker, their time.
It's extended
goes
anyway.
Well, it's extended
beyond
anyway.
5
Yeah,
minutes.
that's right.
So I think that's why we haven't been challenged on that.
Right, right.
So, but I just don't want us to be challenged until we have an opportunity to change the code if that's your desire.
Right.
What does it take to change a code amendment?
Plan commission review recommendation notice in the newspaper 28 days for the hearing, for the plan commission and for you. We could double notice,
Well, I know clearly this isn't gonna happen, I mean, in the short
but you wouldn't do it in time for
I mean,
comment.
if you told me I had 3 minutes to make my case, I could do it, and I could do it comfortably. Now, if someone's gonna get up and read 4 and 5 pages, my question is, why didn't you submit that beforehand? Point number 1. Point number 2, we had over 190 letters. Goodness gracious, come on, okay? So, I mean, I really think this should be, whoever the chairman is, at the chairman's discretion, because you can go, and we've gone 5 minutes where we have, for example, on the comp plan update, because we had a smaller crowd.
Right.
Right.
You get into a crowd of this size, this is gonna go, it's gonna go long.
But it's a fine, at a certain point, it's a fine balance between, wanting to keep the meeting as brief as possible and still
Allowing
affording people their
Due process.
meaningful opportunity to be heard,
Right.
which is what due process requires.
So you feel that if we go less than this, that we're denying them their due
Well,
process?
The shorter you go, the more of a risk there is. The only thing the Idaho Supreme Court has said is that 2 minutes is not
enough.
It's
Not
not
consistent
enough.
with due process. So
Okay.
presumably it has to be at least 3.
Okay,
But, they haven't had an opportunity to determine whether 3 minutes is a meaningful opportunity to be heard or not.
Well, and you actually had an experience last meeting with Condon where you saw people rush through their remarks, several speakers. So that tells you that 5 tends to be a nice round number that gets people more.
well, if
fluid.
that's the code, that's the code, I mean, but, fine.
And before you got here, I was telling Leslie, I just chalk these things up to occupational hazard. I don't like it. I've spent at this time in my life, I spent over 1,000 meetings in public hearings. in meetings. And you add the hours up, that's probably 10,000 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the glaring downside, if you will, at least from my perspective, is if you get a larger crowd, whatever
Mhm.
that is, we're probably not gonna deliberate that night. I mean, if we're wrapping up a meeting at 10:30 or 11, do you
Yeah.
really wanna be deliberating at that
No.
point? That's really not fair to anyone.
Right.
But I still like the idea of either going 2 and 6 or 9 and 6.
Right. And I
Yeah.
will tell you,
Yeah,
as meetings
yeah.
go, they're easier here than most places. Most places I've worked, I had lots of 4 and 5 hour hearings for one meeting.
Yeah, and with this particular code, I think, you know, to Leslie's point, the split session or dual session makes more sense. Yeah,
I would advocate to keep 1, 3, and 4 where they're at. You know, I'm not opposed to shortening the time for public testimony. But one thing about group presentations, even, you know, in the past when they have been 15 minutes, especially in the more controversial cases.
yeah,
I think they
I would
really help
agree.
shorten.
I would agree with that. So go 15 on the group
Mm-hmm.
and leave 1, 3, and 4. Yeah.
That would be my recommendation.
So applicant's presentation at 30,
Yeah, because they often have more than one speaker.
group at 15. You're willing to hold public to 3?
I think 3 is the bare minimum. Let's put it that way.
And again, it'd be chair's prerogative if we change that, then the chair could allow 5 if you wanted to. But the 3 would be the minimum starting. And we could probably get that in front of you in 3 months as a code.
Wow.
Well, you have to
3
appoint a
months.
plan commission for me first.
Correct.
Nah,
Which is,
cool.
yes, will happen in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think the earliest that could happen is, you know, sometime soon after the comp plan is occurred.
But your suggestion, Pat, is that at least for this next hearing, the continuance, that we go with
Yes, I concur with David on that.
the 30, 15, and 5.
Yeah.
Bill?
Well,
I'm sorry, Pat, go ahead.
That sounds good. I like Leslie's idea of, for the long controversial hearings, so 9 and 6, so we afford people who are working time, so they can get in, and if they want to testify in person, they can do so.
So didn't we used to do Thursday afternoons, evenings?
on Thursday
Evenings.
Yeah.
So is that a problem going back to that, changing from Wednesday afternoons to Thursday evenings?
Not for us, is it?
Not for me.
At the beginning of the year, I put a notice in the paper, and I say this is the normal schedule, but always the, addition if needed. And that's what I was gonna ask, like if, to do a 9 on Thursday and a 6, and then keep the 2 on Wednesday, so you have some room.
Oh, just add that?
Or if you just want the 9 and 6 on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Get it over with. I'm fine with the 9 and 6.
Okay. So, Bill, it sounds like you might be in agreement to go 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. on these really big hearings on Thursdays?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
I actually like 1 at 4, but that's okay. Well, share what you shared with me. Everywhere you worked, they were what, during the day?
I'm having a hard time concentrating with that
Okay.
background noise.
Bill, there's a lot of background noise.
You're in too.
What,
That's okay.
is he on the road?
It sounds like it.
Okay. Yeah, do you want to?
Oh, your question was my
Oh,
experience
yeah,
in
in
other
your,
places?
in your prior positions. Prior
It's
locations.
been common in my experience to start in big cities at 1 in the afternoon, because in a big city, people have things to do, and they expect business and government business to be transacted in the day.
Right.
But that's a big city. But in those big cities, it started at 1. I had cases that go from 1 till 9 at night, because we'd have 4 or 5 cases. Each one
Oh,
would
I
take
see.
3 or 4
Just-
hours. And so whether it's the planning commission, which heard cases in our situation, or the county commissioners, or the city council. We've had the whole days taken up by hearings, because that's just what it takes to get through it all.
Interesting. Okay. All right, so we'll effect the change with the continuance. That it?
That's it.
Okay. Public comment? None? 9:23, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.